Lionel, is that you?
There, I think I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Is it okay? I hit the record button.
Did you?
Yep. And now, here's Johnny. Okay, so this is another one of our podcasts. I think, you know what? I got a funny feeling this is going to turn into an actual episode. This was all arranged by Bruce. You know that girl that lives in West Hartford, Connecticut, and she single-handedly builds Pratt & Whitney turbine engines?
Yes. We've met her before, and
yeah,
I think we interviewed as an up-and-coming youngster in the hobby.
Yes, and then she somehow gets them onto a platform and then wheels them out to the A310 and then bolts them on with... but the only thing I was actually thinking about this today, and I'm really going to try to talk to her about it. I really don't like that the engines wiggle. I find
you gotta have a little wiggle.
I find that very unnerving. Sometimes you'll be going down the runway and you'll see the engine wiggling as we get up to our rotate speed, and I'm thinking, geez, I wish it wouldn't do that just before we take off.
Well, of course, and the wings do flex quite a bit. So
yeah, well, you don't need to be telling me that either.
I'm sorry.
You really don't need to be telling me any of that stuff. I'm that guy that's, always after 100 flights, I still have my face glued to the window going, is it going to work? Is it going to work?
Well, aren't you the one in Hawaii was trying to hit the brake to stop the plane from taxiing because you saw another one coming?
No, that was in Orlando.
Oh, Orlando. Okay.
That's when I screamed out, don't pull out! Because there was a British Airways 747 landing and the plane barely moved and it felt like the guy was taking his foot out the brake, and I went, don't pull out! And then, then everybody, my wife is like, not with me. Don't know the guy.
Yep.
All right. So anyways, we actually have the one and only Kaylee Zhang with us. And I know what I wanted to tell you. This actual podcast is the very first podcast we did since the last one.
Wow. That's amazing.
Earth-shattering news right there.
It is. And some will probably be the last one we do before the next one.
Possibly, but once again, we've talked about that, and that we'll have to do some meetings and stuff.
This is true.
When you
we'll get Tony Cook to set us up with some meeting schedule, and we can all get together.
When you get
I'm the worst when it comes to meetings. It's like, just email or call me. So we don't have to have a meeting. So yeah, I can't help you there.
That's like me and
you're going to fit in perfect.
Yeah, that's like me and email. I emailed you. Great. You want to talk to me? Text me. All right. Enough about me and enough about us. Okay. So Kaylee Zhang is here with us. And Kaylee, it was your idea. The gentleman we're going to talk to tonight is none other than...
Oh, is that my cue to say my name?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Go back in the closet.
Yes. You're in the green room. Go back down the hallway to the left.
Sorry.
Yes, these days, eh?
None other than John Sacerdote, the fellow that runs the Amherst. What is it called, Kaylee?
The Amherst Amherst Rail Society, a Railroad Society Railroad Hobby Show, something like that.
Yeah.
It's also known as the Springfield Show.
Yeah.
That seems so much easier.
Yeah, the Big E.
The Big E.
Yeah.
The Big E. And anyways, John Sacerdote is the guy that runs it. And Bruce and you and I talked to him last year.
Well, actually earlier this year, back in whenever we were there.
Technically.
But yes. During the last show.
Yeah, but if we happen to air this
that could be next year.
Yes, if we happen to air this, say, on January the 7th or January the 21st or the 14th.
Then it was last year. Let's just refer to it as the last Springfield show.
Yeah, the last time we talked to him. All right, and we have Tony Cook, editor of Model Railroad News, the creator of HO Collector Quarterly, the host of AML Product News, the host of the X2F Files, the creator of the HOScaleResource.com. HOResource.com? What is it, Tony?
HO-scaletrains.com will get you there. And I think it's HO Scale Trains Resource.
Well, it's yours though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, next time you go, and we
You want
have
me to look?
yeah, next time we go, and we have Bruce, the moderately agitated mail boy.
That's me.
And then finally we have, as I said, we have Kaylee Zhang, who is single-handedly builds turbine engines for Pratt & Whitney and then installs them. I understand that she can build the whole engine. I just don't understand how she attaches it to the plane by herself.
It's amazing. She holds it up in one hand and just gets the bolt in with the other one. You know?
That's why I have the Popeye arms.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
And- that was pretty good. Okay, guys, let's get John in here.
Okay. Go get him, Kaylee.
Okay. John, we're ready.
I'm
Come on
here.
now.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, you okay with your hair like that, John?
Yeah, it's the way it always is.
Mm.
It's called the lack thereof.
So how long have you been running this show?
This is going to be my 16th show. So for 16 years, well, 15 years, this is my 16th show.
And it is actually called...
It's actually called the Amherst Railway Society Railroad Hobby Show.
And did you run out of words, or how did you
Yeah.
guys come up with that name?
Well, the Big E folks who have copyrights on the Big E show said stop using the Big E show. So okay. But it's really just called the Railroad Hobby Show.
Yeah.
If you go to our website is the railroadhobbyshow.com, all that stuff. So
or Springfield. Are you going to Springfield?
that and honestly, that's what people know it by. Even though we're in West Springfield on the grounds of the Eastern States Exposition, everybody knows it as the Springfield Show.
Yes, that's what I always knew it as.
Yeah.
I ran around about 3 or 4 years ago for Train Masters TV, asking people the name of the show, which was hilarious because
I saw that. That was hysterical.
yeah, because nobody,
No one knew.
no one knew, and it was like, and a lot of them were convinced they knew what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
So how did you get hooked into doing this job then?
Well, I started out as the director of clinics and just put on a bunch of clinics throughout the day on Saturday and Sunday. And the past show director was just getting a little on the old side after 30 years of running the show.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it. And I'm only the second show director, if you could believe that. So he wanted to retire, and they all kind of looked at me, and I said, well, okay. And actually, I really did want to do it because I knew we could do so much more with it. It was only 3 buildings when I took over. They weren't making that much money. And the reason why I mentioned the making of the money is because we give it all away, and I wanted to give more money away. So we just did a few little changes, and now we're able to give away quite a bit of money to other nonprofits that have something to do with railroads. So we exist just to raise money to promote railroading, whether it be modeling all the way up to our grant program, which gives formal grants away to any number of nonprofits that are restoring railroads, cars, stations, etc. So it's actually a lot of fun.
Have you ever thought of giving money away to podcasts?
It's funny you say that, Lionel, because I was just thinking, this podcast could be restored.
Restored to its former glory.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying right now we're in the early stages here of the restoration project, so I don't know where it's going to go. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe a whole AML restoration project could be funded here.
Yeah, I remember the good old days when he thought people were actually listening.
Yeah, I remember the good old days. You're doing this on a big reel-to-reel tape machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I've often said. Is I can someday when somebody finds the original tapes in the back of a filing cabinet.
Yeah.
I think I use that phrase when I'm yelling at you, Bruce, about talking about something local and not explaining to the people in New Zealand what you're talking about.
This is true.
Okay, so how many years then exactly, John, has it been going?
Oh gosh, it started very informally, but it wasn't until last year we had our 50th anniversary show in the formal sense. So probably 68, I'm thinking, is when they had their first formal get together. If back in the day, I actually picture this in my head. This all started by a bunch of college professors from UMass Amherst, hence the Amherst Railway Society, a couple professors from Smith College, some grad students, and they're all sitting around not realizing that there's probably another dozen of them that also play with trains. And they had no idea. And it just all of a sudden came up. I picture them all sitting around the faculty room saying, "What? You play with trains too?" And so they said, let's all get together and see what we do. So they started in the chemistry room, in the chemistry lecture hall, and they all brought their stuff, and it grew from there. And they finally outgrew the University of Massachusetts student union, and then they just said, let's go for it, and let's rent one of the smallest buildings at the Eastern States Exhibition fairgrounds, and it was a huge success. And they moved into even more buildings, and then they were kind of leveled off at 3 buildings. And I said, "Oh man, there's too many people on the wait list. Let's get more interesting people at this show, newer technology, et cetera, et cetera." So we're now just at 400,000 square feet. So it's just about 10 acres of trains. It's crazy, and we're outside now too.
Yes.
You're
Now,
outside.
is this the largest show in the U.S.?
Yes,
Footage-wise? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, square footage, I don't know of any other show that's 400,000 square feet. And numbers vary depending on the weather, but we count the gate and we count total population, because there's about 3,700 people that are in the show, counting all the exhibitors, et cetera. And on a great year, we'll get 25,000. Well, you add the 3,500, we'll get 28,000 people involved. Last year we had a flu epidemic and a couple other things. The weather was like too nice, so everybody said, let's go skiing. So we had about 22,000. So we were down, and I'm never satisfied. So whenever they ask me, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I want record numbers."
I just visioned him pounding his hand in his chest.
No. I am never satisfied.
Yeah, I remember actually one year, early in the early years of the podcast, I was going to go try to interview you, and I started to approach the office, and all I could hear was the screaming of, "No, it's not enough!" And I thought, geez, you know what? Maybe I'll come back another time.
That was probably me.
So one of my big bugaboos is there's people all over the world that listen to us: Australia, New Zealand, Great Britain, Sweden. We're huge. We're huge everywhere. So exactly what is Amherst? Where is the university? Where does the name Amherst come from if it's in Springfield?
Well, it actually comes from Amherst, Massachusetts, which is probably 25, 30 miles north of the state line. So if you're looking, look for Interstate 91 and go up about 1.5 inches and you'll see Amherst. So it started from those college professors in Amherst. But what happened is we started to outgrow our meeting space. So we did a little bit of research, and we found out that the members of the Amherst Railway Society, of which there are about 450 now, centered around the Chicopee Holyoke area, just north of Springfield, home of the Basketball Hall of Fame and blah, blah, blah. So we said, why do we want to keep having our meetings way up in Amherst when only 17% of the population of the membership lives up there? So we started looking for a place, and we did find a place in Palmer, which is yet another name. But Palmer happens to be the town of 7 railroads, a lot of converging railroads back in the day. So it's a great spot to be. It's right on the highway. It's very accessible to our monthly meetings. But the whole Springfield show is because that's where the 400,000 square feet of floor space exists at the Eastern States Exposition Fairgrounds. It honestly is the only place in all of New England, other than the Jacob Javits Center, that could hold us.
Really? And what is the Jacob Javits Center?
That's in New York City. It's just a giant convention center. They have over 1 million square feet there. It's huge, huge, huge. We couldn't even go to Boston because there's the convention center in Boston is not 400,000 square feet.
Really? Holy mackerel.
Yeah, the first thing I did when I became show director is I said, let's look around and see. It's not even close anywhere, just to check and see what's going on and see if we have any place else to go. So they kind of, what I don't even say they have us over a barrel. They don't, because they treat us really nice. And we bring a lot of business to them. We're actually the largest show in terms of population other than their fair in September, October.
Oh,
Wow.
Really? So, the largest show, like the 27, like we'll say you average around 25 to 28,000 people, and that's the largest show other than the actual fair in the Springfield Fairgrounds.
That is correct. Now there's the equine show, a lot of horse shows, they take more space. They don't get our numbers though.
Right. Yeah. Really. Well, that would lead me to my favorite question. Should I ask it now, kids, or should I save it for a little while?
Go for it now. Let's get it out there and go for it.
John, is this hobby growing?
Oh, that's a great question.
Hang on. Just before you go on, were you under the impression we didn't ask any great questions?
No. That is a great question. That qualifies as a great question. I don't think I have a great answer, but I'm going to try to give you one. I know a lot of people, it's an older hobby. And what I mean by that is the average age. I'm the youngster in this group and I'm almost 70. So it's interesting stuff. But I think the more we plug away at it, I think the pendulum is about to swing, because they're finding that kids can't even speak to one another because they spend so much time on their phones and playing games and all of that kind of stuff. So I'd like to think it's coming back. We do everything possible to get children involved. And we have a lot of stuff going on in one of the buildings for kids. But I look at the membership of some of these magazines or the circulation, and it's changing though, because things like these podcasts, like all the internet based magazines now, they're growing.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff. So I'm never giving up. I've been doing this since I was 7, when I walked into that department store in Hartford and went, oh my God, the biggest layout in the world. And it was 2 4x8 tables stuck together in an 8x8 square. But it was the first scenic model railroad I'd ever seen in my life. And I was hooked, and still to this day. So we just need to get the word out, and we need to do more things to get more kids involved. And I'm all for all of that. So, but there is that fascination. People come over to my house, they see my model railroad, and they go, oh my God, I had no idea. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Well,
you could be a carpenter one day, you could be an electrician the next day, you could be an artist the next day, a planner the next day, and it's all hands-on stuff. And you don't get to hurt your thumbs like when you play videos.
I don't know. I smacked my hand a few times with the hammer. So
yeah, I was just gonna say, unless you hit it with a hammer,
or burn it with the soldering iron, but that's besides the point.
X-Acto knives.
you're not. Yeah, those three bolts that hold those engines to the A320. You're not banging those bolts in with a hammer, I hope.
If it doesn't fit, get a bigger one.
Yeah, the fine adjusting tool.
We were talking to her last night on another podcast, and it was viewer post vacation cruise number 28. And we got and there was somebody had put in a picture of a plane, and she starts rambling off all this technical jargon, and I'm thinking, and then she tried to claim she didn't build them herself, and I'm thinking, I don't buy any of that, because she knows all this stuff about planes, and it was pretty cool.
Kaylee came to an op session a couple weeks back, and one of the guys had a new throttle with him, and Kaylee's wanting to take it all apart, and people said, "What are you doing?" Kaylee goes, "I'm just figuring out how to make this smaller and better."
So since I started the podcast, though, and I'm sure you've listened to pretty much every episode, and some of them twice, John.
Yes, this is actually marked as one of my faves. in my history and in my my directory. So.
Okay, so let's try that again. So I'm pretty sure you've listened to every podcast and some of them twice.
Most of them several times, not even just twice.
And so the thing that I've discovered doing the podcast is like the hobby seems like way bigger than I ever imagined. Like, did you start to get like, okay, so I would disagree with you. I think the hobby's growing because I think social media is exposing it to so many people. But beyond that, even if we just go, okay, the hobby's the same size it was 5 years ago, it's way bigger than I ever realized. And did you, as you started to do the show 16 years ago, like as the years went by, did you start thinking to yourself, man, this is just huge, this thing?
Not at first, but in the last 5 years, yes. So that tends to make me think twice about where this is going. And I mean that in a positive light. We have exhibitors at the show from overseas. We have people from England that exhibit at our show.
Really?
Yeah, and tons of people from Canada, from Australia exhibit at our show.
So like manufacturers or sellers, or people that just bring exhibits?
A mix of all of the above.
So like, can you think of like, say, how many are from the across the Atlantic? Like 4 or 5, half a dozen?
Less than a half a dozen.
Right, but they're there anyways.
Yeah.
They're
which I love.
Yeah,
and they come a long way, and we help them with their shipping. A lot of times they'll ship it to my house because it's cheaper, and I'll bring it up to the Big E for them. So, I mean, we go out of our way to make this work for anybody that wants to attend.
Well, I think that's the thing that I've discovered ever since I don't know how many years I've been with Jim now, but ever since I started getting involved from behind it, the scenes, it's like. You do a really good job. Like, that was the first thing. This is something I think to myself. I bet you I think this to myself every single year. I usually show up on Friday around dinner time, and I walk up the office, and everybody is always so friendly. Everybody seems chipper, and like, I think that the way you run it and the way you are is what makes is one of the things that makes the show work, because everybody seems so positive. Positive is the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and really that's my thing. I just have been customer service oriented my entire life, and there's no reason not to be, especially in this setting. I mean, you want everybody to have a great time. You want everybody to get involved. You want people to pick up the hobby that are coming for the first time. So why would you be any other way? It's so, and in the end, it just makes for a lot of fun. I couldn't tell you how many friends that I have now because of this.
Yeah,
so
it's relaxed. It's a relaxed atmosphere.
You know what? That's the absolute truth. I've said this a million times. In model railroading, you could call up a guy and say, "Hey, can I come over and see your layout?" And they always say, "Sure," right away. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can remember when my son was like 5 or 6. It took him a few years before he realized he didn't just show up at anybody's house and knock on the door. I've always said it's the strangest hobby. You just walk up to people's houses and go in. Like if you're on a tour or something.
Listen, when people come to my house for an op session, they just you don't ring the doorbell. You just walk in. Yeah. And that's how it is with all of us. So it's a wonderful hobby in that respect. And there's a guy that mentored me when I just started taking over the show director job, and he called this, rightfully so. He said model railroading is his men's club. And he meant that in general, as a camaraderie type place to come and meet, and like the VFW without alcohol. So it's just a place to meet and talk. And when we have op sessions every Tuesday night, we have work sessions every Friday night, and some people just come. They don't run trains, but no one cares. And no one says, "I'll see you next week." And but because if you can't make it, you can't make it. So there's zero pressure in participation, which makes it all together that much more fun.
So is operating sessions and work sessions on your layout or club?
No, round robin. So
okay.
So there's so many of us with layouts around here that they op at my house like once every 10 weeks because that's how many other layouts there are that are operational.
And this is all around the Springfield area or the Amherst area?
Actually, from the Hartford, Connecticut area north to Amherst.
Yeah,
and everything in between.
Yeah, it's kind of scattered all throughout. There's several. We have several. Majority of them are in the Massachusetts area, so Springfield, Holyoke, and so on, around that area. But then
Yeah,
there are a few that are in the southern parts of Massachusetts, also known as Connecticut.
Yeah, really. The closest the closest layout to me is about 23 miles away. The farthest away is 50.
Okay, and this is all generally in the spring. So for people that don't know, Hartford, Connecticut was what, 15, 20 miles south of Springfield?
That's pretty accurate, actually.
And Springfield is on the Interstate 90, which runs from Boston and through to Buffalo.
That's right. It's actually at the intersection of Interstate, the Mass Pike, Interstate 90. Is it 90, I guess?
Yes, it is.
90, yep.
90, yeah, and 91, which is north-south, which runs from Old Saybrook, Connecticut, all the way just about to Canada.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to go to Montreal, which is, I'm not sure why, because the Canadians are there. But why would you want to go to Boston? Because the Bruins are there.
Yeah.
That's another whole discussion altogether.
Yes.
Go Leafs, go. So what's the population of Springfield, Chicopee, Holyoke area?
Oh, gosh, maybe 75 to 90,000.
Okay, and what is it of Hartford, Kaylee? Roughly.
I want to say it's pretty close to size, maybe slightly less, 65 to 70,000.
Okay, and all of that is about an hour and a half west of Boston.
Yes, that's accurate. On a good day, an hour and a half from Boston, door to door from Hartford.
Okay, so yeah.
I would say hour and a half to 2 hours, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah. Well, 3 on a rainy day when there's crazy traffic.
It's amazing what the show has done and your enthusiasm for it. That Bruce, I think you can back me up on that. The relaxed atmosphere, eh?
Yeah, for most of them. There's a few out there who are a little.
No, but I mean for the Springfield show, it's just the way.
Oh, Springfield show, for sure.
Yeah,
it's like the couple times I've been there, it's been. It's not everybody. It's the vendors. Majority of them are quite happy to chat with you for a bit.
John,
what they're doing, it's great.
Bruce, I'm sorry I cut you in there, but that's what I do.
Yes,
John. I'm going to formally commend you because I have just realized that in our discussion we've been talking for 27 minutes and 50 seconds. But in this discussion, I've realized that's what it is about this show. It's you have a relaxed persona about the show. It's a very pleasant experience all in all. And that you've got to be commended for the amount of work you've done to do that, because when you think about the number of people and the logistics and the buildings and the whole thing, that's what it is. Every weekend that I go, it's just a fun thing to do. You've got to be commended for that.
I appreciate that very much. And I have to be careful my wife doesn't hear this, but it is my absolute favoriteest time of the year, much more so than any other time. I get visually excited when it comes to the show. I start looking at the weather in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The Farmer's Almanac, anything I could get my hands on, and just hope and pray that it's going to be decent weather. But we've had a couple of shows where it snowed 8-10 inches on our Saturday, our big day, and there's still 5,000 people at the show. And the vendors, people at the show, don't complain at all, because those are the people that will trek through anything to buy stuff. So they still do well. Of course, we get clobbered because there's no gate, which means we don't get to give that much money away. But still, no matter what, it's always a fun time, and I do appreciate you saying.
Yeah. Now, of the vendors at the show, who has the longest tenure? Like, who's been coming out year after year to support you?
You know who's right up there with every one of them is City Classics, Jim Sacco.
All right.
This is going to be his 30th year. And we were just chatting via email a couple weeks ago about who else has been around for 30 years. And I really have to go back and do some research, because I have every single vendor since the beginning of time, and every single map of every single year. So it's really fun to see. Back in the old days when they actually used to literally cut and paste a map when someone wanted to move, they would actually cut it out and scotch tape it onto the other map and then go get another picture of the map made. So the original cut and paste, I think, was started with us.
So the logistics of it. So you pretty much when a vendor comes back or a display comes back, you always stick them in the same spot.
And I try to, and you know, I have to weigh the fact that vendors want to stay in the same place, so people know where they are, with the gate that says the show gets stale if you don't mix it up. So I tend to lead towards the vendors because people really do care where they are. But ever since I've been doing this, guys, there's about 15 and 20% new vendors every year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. So I get about 20, 25 vendors new. I've got a lot of great new people coming in this year. And you know, while some people have been on the wait list for literally 7 to 10 years, it's just a wait list, not necessarily on age, based on what you could bring to the show to make this a better experience for people that attend. And it's the technology that wins, or a killer layout. That'll really get you right to the top of the wait list. Yeah. And there's a couple of great layouts that are gonna be there new this year. One, they're doubling their size. Thank God I have enough space for them. So I believe it or not, I'm taking more space this year, but I have 10 less vendors than last year.
Really?
But because the layouts are huge this year. There's 65 operating layouts. Not even counting the people that are have a little layout to demo their product. You know, that doesn't count. I'm talking about people that bring a layout just to show off a layout. 65.
Wow. And do you charge the layouts, or the layouts get to display for free?
The layouts are free. And
Right.
believe it or not, there's a pool of moving expenses that we offer. So we try to offset the moving expenses for people that have layouts. So you'll get a little reward from us, for lack of a better phrase, for coming to the show. So they pay nothing to get into the show. All the participants of that layout get into the show for free, and we'll help you with the moving expenses as well.
Wow, that's cool. And so this layout that you were saying, there's going to be like double the size. Which layout is that?
Actually, it's the Dirty 30 guys from down in, I think they're from Maryland. They went from 30 by 50 to 60 by 90. Yeah, I know. And they're bringing an area this year. I love, these guys are good. They're bringing an area this year where you could handicap accessibility, so that's a raised area. So a bunch of great guys too. We actually save a portion of the back of one of the buildings, so all those guys that are bringing layouts can park their trailers in there to keep them warm over the weekend.
Yeah, because you've got 5 buildings now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
if I took every bit of all the buildings, there's just a little bit of the Mallory complex that I reserved for trailers that allow us to.
Which is because the Better Living Center is the one that City Classics is, and that's the biggest building, isn't it?
No, it's not actually. That's about 165,000 square feet. But the Mallory complex and I'm talking about just the back of the Mallory complex, is 180,000 square feet.
Wow.
It's huge. It's huge. And the front of it is about 15,000 square feet. So if you take the whole Mallory complex together, it's almost as big. It's about 200,000 square feet, which is the size of Train Fest.
And that's is that the one where Miles Hale did his clinics?
Yes, in the back of the Mallory complex is where Miles does the clinics with those bleachers.
That's cool.
It's like a mini stadium.
I know, that is so cool what he does with those bleachers.
Yeah, he does a nice job, and we still have those clinics 2 days prior to the show.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, but first I want to ask you a question if you could do me a favor.
Sure.
if you don't mind. I know you're busy, but if you could tell me when that steam engine is going to blow off its whistle, that would be that would be huge for me, because sometimes it just kind of jolts me awake, and
They will blow it at each morning when the show opens. So on Saturday, the 26th of January, 2019, it's going to blow off at 9 a.m. On Sunday at 10 a.m. We start an hour later on Sunday, so dealers have a chance to circulate with manufacturers. And I'll tell you, we've had more deals happen during that hour before the show opens, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, is that the main reason why it opens an hour later, so dealers and manufacturers can get together? Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've had a lot of manufacturers of loads. For example, I think of this one group out of Maine. Got to start at our show. Started exhibiting, and Walters came over, and a couple other groups, and whoever it was, and said, "Hey, could you make like 10,000 of these a month?" And he had to move out of his garage. But to this day, he's a full-fledged company, and they got their start at our show.
Yeah, see, now my psychiatrist might be right. She might be right about that. I have narcissistic tendencies, because honestly, up until this moment, I thought you started it at 10 a.m. so I could sleep in longer.
No, it's so they could, so the dealers could schmooze a little bit.
Well, I guess then they can still schmooze while I'm sleeping, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's true.
Where's your okay, so how do you have this steam engine? What kind of steam it sits outside the Better Living Center?
Yeah, it's a little, this year they're bringing a little Baldwin. They just restored it. Some guys out of Maine have restored it out of the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington, in conjunction with the Booth Bay Harbor, Booth Bay Railway Village folks have restored this little Baldwin. It's narrow gauge. And this year they're going to bring a boxcar with it. So they lay down about 100 feet of track, and they just pull up and back, and all weekend long that whistle is blowing. And we actually had a comment at our local restaurant. They said, did they finally get the trains back into the Big E? Thinking that there was a station stop there, because they were hearing the train whistle all weekend.
So how do they get this? Did they load it up onto a float or something to get this thing down there?
They actually, we actually pay to have it transported.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Oh, yeah. I long for the day. There used to be rail service into the fairgrounds, and I long for the day, and we're working with the fairground people to get that track back on the grounds. I long for the day to get a huge steam locomotive, even a diesel locomotive, on the ground, so people could see how incredibly enormous they are. And it's so, I mean, when you walk up to one of those things, you go, "Oh my God!" Who knew? And it's so much fun.
How long is that steam? That steam locomotive hasn't been coming that long, has it?
No, this will be the third year. It's only been 2 years prior to this.
So would you wake up bolt upright in bed one night and go, "You know what? We need a steam engine"?
Well, yeah, I did actually. About 4 years ago, I said, we need knock your socks off stuff here to make more people, especially kids, more excited about railroads. And I wanted a full-size steam locomotive, but then I was talking with the guys from the Waterville, Wiscasset, and Farmington Railway, and I said, "Guys, you got to do something. Bring something down here." And they brought an old milk car down the first year, and then a Model T. And I said, "Not enough, more." And they said, "How about if we bring a working steam locomotive?" I said, "Yes, that's what I'm talking about." So they did. So I said, "I don't care. We'll pay for it. Get it down here." So it was a lot of fun. And they do it in every year. And I'll tell you what, they have lines, because the little kids, the first year, right? The little kids, all they want to do is blow the whistle. So when they first got down here, I said, no, stop the line. I cut the whole line, went up to the beginning went right up onto the cab. And I remember that line from Polar Express. "I wanted to do this my whole life." Well, that's what I said. And that's what I did. I blew the whistle.
So basically you guys pay to have them loaded. It must be on a float or something, one of those big tractor trailer floats.
Yeah. It's on one of those, they lower it, disconnect it.
Yeah.
But they actually have it set up so that it's got rails on it. So they hook up a section of the track and they roll it right off the thing, right onto the ground.
Wow.
Yeah, so they build the track first,
Yeah.
but it's sectional track. All they have to do is connect it. Yeah,
Is it like Atlas track?
It's only bigger. Exactly. The scale is, I think, 1-to-1. Yeah. So they roll it right off. And the first year they brought it down, they arrived at about 9:30 at night. There were 200 people out there watching them unload this thing.
Really?
Yeah, it was so cool to see this come off the trailer.
This is on the Thursday, probably?
This was Thursday evening, yes.
Wow.
Because Brian, the engineer, the guy who actually did all the boiler work for it, who works out of Booth Bay Railway, he actually stays overnight with the locomotive to get it fired up and all that kind of stuff. So we get him a hotel room right across the street so he could tend to the locomotive.
Man, oh man, you're just a ball of energy, aren't you?
Gotta be to keep up with this stuff.
So the clinics. Let's tell everybody about the clinics, because that's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Yes, the clinics are all day Thursday, all day Friday. If you attend the clinics, you actually get to get into the show for both days for free. So it's 2 days of pre-show clinics. There's 30 clinics. There's 3 sessions a day times, I don't know, 5. So there's 15 a day. There's 30 clinics. Yeah, that math works. It's just a great experience. If you go to the website railroadhobbyshow.com to clinics, the schedule's been up for a couple months, and we've got a ton of people already registered, and it usually fills up every year. So we try to keep it to 100 people, and we get about that every year. But there's a lot of great people doing a lot of great stuff.
And how much does it cost to register for the clinics?
The clinics are only $99, but that includes meals both days.
Wow.
Yeah, and it includes a 2-day pass to the show, which is about a $30 value. So it makes it a destination weekend. It's kind of fun, and you stay right at the hotel where the clinics are. So you just walk downstairs and have breakfast with the group, and then go to clinics from 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night.
That's great. And for years, Miles Hale was looking after that, was he not?
Yes, he was. And last year he wanted to slow down. He said, "Can we just do the in the show clinics on Friday and Saturday in those bleachers area that we spoke of earlier?" So he's got a couple of his guys that wanted to inherit it and try it for a year, and after this year we're going to see what they think and if they want to continue. But gosh, I've got a lot of people that are interested, so I'm not worried about continuing them, but we'll see what happens this year. But what's funny about it is I look at the schedule, and Miles and Fran Hale are doing a lot of the clinics. So I said, well, what the heck?
Just looking at your clinics for the Saturday and Sunday, there's 3 each day. Now, are those free to attend, or is there a cost? Those are the free. Okay.
Yeah, and those are make and take. And if you look with pun intended, there's 4 different tracks of clinics that you could take.
Yes.
And the track 1, of course, is the extra 2 days of clinics. Track 2 is Miles and Fran, the make and take clinics.
Yeah.
In the area. And then track 3 is what we call the quiet room, where you could actually go learn JMRI or LCC with the guys that helped write that stuff, and along with Iwata airbrush clinics all day long. And then track 4 are clinics that people just have at their booths. Art Fahey at Bar Mills has a couple guys there showing some clinics. There's some great clinics at Scenic Express all day long. ETE, European Train Enthusiasts, take a huge space, and they offer clinics. And this year, some of the exciting stuff for me anyway is this new proto throttle. They're going to be demonstrating and showing clinics on that all day long.
That is a cool piece of equipment.
A friend of mine just got one. It is unbelievable, especially if you've ever operated a working locomotive, a diesel locomotive. It is It's tiny, but it's realistic as all get out.
All right, so John, you have one job this year, and if you don't do it, I'm going to be crushed.
What?
You need to walk up to Scott Thornton, the guy that's involved with Proto Throttle, or Michael Peterson, primarily Scott Thornton. You need to walk up to him and say, Lionel wants to know how many of these you think you're going to sell.
I will. I just talked to him 2 days ago.
And you're exhausted.
And no, actually.
Oh man, now there's a conversation I'd like to be part of. I'd like to be. I feel like I'd be like the referee in a heavyweight bout. You two guys having a talk.
but we've come up with a couple of things that they're going to be doing at the show. So sworn to secrecy, as I am with a lot of like
sure
scaletrains.com and Athearn. They're all doing some very they're doing product announcement.
Sure,
that's okay. It's okay to say that, but I can't say what.
Well, you can say it here because nobody's listening. So go ahead.
No, I can't. I'm sworn in my agreement with them. So honestly, I can say it's mostly locomotives that are being released, but Proto Throttle is going to make a couple of announcements. So we'll see. Little teaser there.
Now, are they actually there as a vendor as well?
They're going to be there with one of their two exclusive distributors. So they're going to be with Spring Creek.
Okay.
I can tell you the announcement they're going to make.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, and I'll tell you if you're right.
Turns out people want this after all.
Yes. Actually, they cannot make them fast enough.
Actually, you know what? I just thought of this, Bruce. Bruce, this is what we got to do. Or Kaylee, you can. One of you has to come with me.
We can tag team them.
Yeah, I'm going to walk up to Scott Thornton and just palm slap my forehead and go, "What were you thinking?"
Here, I thought you were just going to do the Gibbs slap.
Yeah, or the Gibbs slap.
Yeah, do the Gibbs slap.
Yeah, the Gibbs slap. Do the Gibbs slap. That'd be great. I will never. Now this just gets better and better. I will never forget the look on his face when he goes, 500. Well, okay, and I'm thinking, all right, I'm completely out to lunch, but this thing looks really cool. Do you think you'll sell 100? You think so, really? And I'm palm slapping my forehead. I'm going, I'm telling you, buddy. And now here we are, 3 years later, and they're part of they're on the Who's Who page of the Amherst Amherst Railway Society Railroad Hobby Show.
Exactly. They are. They really are, actually.
Okay, so I get it now. It's the ARSRHS show.
Whoa, very good.
Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
After a couple of beer.
I don't think I can.
So and JMRI, they're going to be doing clinics or something. Is that why?
Yes. Some of the authors of the software will be doing clinics. So interesting stuff. And actually, as I look, that's actually not posted yet, but I just did get word that he wants to go noon on Saturday, noon on Sunday. So.
Well,
so we'll have some JMRI stuff. Yeah. We actually talked about, should we do something other than introduction to JMRI and LCC? And he says, well, I'm torn, John, because I fill the room. I said, well, let's do those two and let's introduce another one. So he's going to do a couple things on operating sessions using JMRI. So that should be interesting. So we'll see how well that new one is attended compared to. But I said, as long as people are filling the room for the basic stuff, keep doing it.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's very cool. That's a very cool idea. And yeah. I have a big announcement about the podcast that I'm going to make. Do you want to know what it is?
Yes, please.
I can't tell you.
No. You got me.
We're sworn to secrecy.
Yeah.
You got me back.
The 187th Vehicle Club. That is so cool. Every year when I walk past that thing.
Can I tell you a story about those guys?
Absolutely.
So for a number of years, this 187th group was taking one of our hotels that we had a contract with and having their show there. And half of my room block at that hotel was taken by these guys from the 187th group. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? So I called up the president back then, and Bob, and he says, how much trouble am I in? And I said, are you kidding me? You're not in any kind of trouble at all. I said, get your show into our show. I'll give you 75 tables for free if you exhibit everything in our show. He said, are you serious? I said, I am dead serious. And they've been with us ever since, growing like a son of a gun. And they do have some vendors there that pay for their tables where they're selling stuff. But all of those 187th guys that are there just showing off their wares, that's such quality work. I love it.
It's incredible stuff.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example of, he thought he was in trouble. He thought I was going to yell and scream at him. And I said, how is that good for the hobby? Let's combine forces.
Yeah. Well,
and get out of my hotel.
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't, you're in trouble. No, it never even went there. They still stay at the hotel, which is fine. And now they have this huge exhibit space in the Mallory complex. And I love it.
Do you have any kind of a sense? Because you have great deals on the hotels, because we stay in Enfield at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Enfield. You must, how many hotels do you have involved with this thing?
30.
Wow. And do you have to go around every year and negotiate? Or
yes. Yeah. I take February off, guys. I'm so dead in February. I don't do anything. And then in March, it starts all over again. It really is almost a full-time job, but from July on, it's full-time. So we negotiate with 30 plus hotels, and we've got some great deals. But it's I don't want to sound like the big genius here with the hotels, because it's the dead of winter, and these hotels love us for booking their hotels. But we get some great deals, and they're almost all of them are under $100. Some of them are still in the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah, so you could get like a couple of red roofs. You could still find deals for in the high 50s, low 60s.
Do you have a sense of how many rooms are booked in the area for the show?
Oh my God! At one of our star hotels, which is Hampton Inn, in the area, they have like 150 rooms. It's booked solid for 4 days. So there's 600 room nights at just one hotel. So It's in the neighborhood of probably 2,000 to 3,000 room nights in the area.
Super.
Another good story. There's a fire.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you go on, we'll be the judge of how good the story is. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So I advertise with a lot of the television stations in the area. So there's a fire Saturday night, and 7 families displaced out of their apartment complex. And at the end of the broadcast of the channel that I spend a lot of money with advertising, the reporter goes, the Red Cross is trying to find these folks hotels, but the Railroad Hobby Show is this weekend, and all the hotels are booked. Now, the inflection was me, but boy, that's how I took it. I called the television station, and they said, oh my God, John, did they actually say that? I said, listen to the tape. So it's pretty funny.
So you have to go. So how much advertising do you do on the TV stations and what have you?
Oh gosh. While it is public information, because we're a registered nonprofit, our budget for advertising, guys, is about $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big.
But that's
we
TV,
need to get the word out.
TV, radio.
Yeah, it's TV. I actually have an idea exchange with Randy Bachman from World's Greatest Hobbies. I go down I try to catch one of his shows about every other or third year at most, and we both have talked about it. And I got to give him credit. He said print ads are dying, and so I've really gotten away from a lot of the print ads. So everything is radio, TV, and social media now.
Yeah, something here, Lionel?
Yes.
I'm getting the sense that this show is not your granddad's flea market swap meet in the church basement.
Yeah, we should tell a story of the first time we went together.
Oh, geez, yes.
This is
At
many
our show, to my show.
Yeah,
Yes.
many years ago. We don't need to tell them when, Bruce, but it was many years ago. And you and I we were handsome men for our age back then.
We were.
And
we still are, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah. Many people have said I'm a strikingly handsome man for my age. And I try to, you know what? I try to take that in stride because, I know not everybody is. So I try to take it in stride.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, we were standing. We had gotten into the Better Living Center, and we were standing actually not far from Jim Sacco's booth. And we're standing there, and I turned to Bruce and I said, "Are we in heaven?"
It's kind of like the little kid in the candy store, the mouth open, going,
Yeah. It was just overwhelming for
it was amazing.
when you go for the first time. It's absolutely overwhelming. If you're a model railroader and you've never been, you cannot. I try to explain it to people, and you can't explain it to people.
That's
Put
true.
it in perspective. My first time there, when I was coming here for the first time for Connecticut for schooling, I spent 2 hours there. And it wasn't because there was a lack of things to see. It was because it was so overwhelming that my sensory was just so overloaded that I had to get out. But subsequently, the following year, I was there for easily 8 hours and still wasn't been able to go through all the buildings. And that was at the time when we were still only 3 buildings. The Mallory wasn't fully open yet. Part of it was a little bit open, but for the most part, it was still just the front half. But now I can't get through any of all the buildings because there's so much to see and so much to do and so many people to talk to, both attendees as well as vendors.
Yeah, I can believe that when you say after 2 hours you had to leave. I can believe that people who have been in the hobby and appreciate the hobby, and the first time they go, I can honestly believe that it would just be completely overwhelming, and the only way you could handle it is to leave. Because you just don't know which way to turn. Like, I mean, since I started doing the podcast, like you say, I don't see but 50% of the show. I try to walk around, and you're trying to take it in, and it's like I just go now because it's just so much fun to see all the people and stuff like that. But it's, the more you get involved, it can be completely overwhelming. So you need to kind of go. Actually, I got a question for you, John. Seeing as how you're here, can I call you John? That's great. Can I call you Steve?
Not if you want me to answer.
A fellow came up to me last year. I was sitting at Jim Sacco's booth. A fellow came up to me. His name was Greg Giavinello. He is originally from the Massachusetts area, or the New England area, and he now lives in New Orleans. And he decided he was going to go back to the show. And I think he's from somewhere in Long Island, or anyways, he's somewhere a ways. And he gets on one of these buses. It's a woman.
Louisiana. New Orleans.
Yes, but he flies into, and he stays with his parents, and he gets on a bus that's run by a lady. And anyways, he takes one of these buses where you pay for the thing, and they drive you to the show, and they give you your ticket.
Yeah, we have, believe it or not, we have 7 buses where they'll do that. And of those that publicize, there's another 3 or 4 that don't, because they just do it privately and they fill those buses. But if you look at the website and go, if you go up to attending the show, and then underneath it says charter buses as one of the submenus, and then there's pictures of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not all of them were there yet, but yeah, we have charter buses that come from. A couple of them come from Long Island, so that's probably the one. There's a couple that come from the Cape,
yes.
One from Vermont, another one from downtown New York City, and there's actually one that comes every year that's is hysterical. It's from the vintage bus. Blah blah blah. I don't know where, but they actually have they come up in an antique bus, and it's followed by a guy in a van with all the tools, because it usually breaks down. But they come up and they have a grand old time. But if you come up by bus, you get a discount ticket. The bus driver gets in for free. you get your tickets brought to you out to the bus. You walk right in, right from the bus. You don't even stand in line. So the bus people we take really good care of because they do a lot to organize it.
Anyways, yeah, it was Karen's 21st. This is Karen's 21st annual Amherst Railway Train Show Express bus from Cape Cod and Southeast. And anyways, he sat on the bus with a fella that had made an app about the show. Do you know anything about that, or should I investigate it and find out about it for you?
You need to investigate that. I've heard that somebody built an app about how to see certain things and all that kind of stuff. And that's something I'd like to do. I'm really trying to qualify because the show is pretty much automated by the registration process, etc. Is pretty much automated now. Instead of the old cut and paste days, we actually CAD draw the buildings. But I really want to have all the people that attend give me their top 3 from a list of what they do. And so if you want to see O-scale layouts, boom, they show up on the map. That would be very cool. Yeah. I would love for you to investigate and maybe we could go into a side business.
Yeah. Well, no, I'd be happy to do that. Be just happy to do that to help out because you're a fun guy, and I'd really like a really good parking spot.
Oh, well, you can't have mine, which is right next to the main entrance to the main. It actually says reserved for show director.
No, I don't think I'm that pushy, am I, Bruce?
It doesn't really say that.
No, I would say we'd be happy with the one right next to him.
Yeah, I could arrange that. Honestly, there are some handicap vendors, exhibitors that come to the show, and I give them one of those spaces as if they're the staff because they're in wheelchairs.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So you get to park inside our area, and I can make that happen.
All right. Well, then I will track this down and I will find out because it was pretty cool when Greg was telling me about it. And that actually, we need to make sure that is being broadcast, or what is the word I'm trying to look for, Bruce, or Kaylee, or publicized. What's that other fella in Plattsburgh, Missouri? The guy that runs Model Railroad News. What's that guy's name?
What is that guy's name?
Is that the guy with the glasses?
That's that guy. Yeah, that guy with the guy with the 2 eyes and the nose.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that
guy. Oh, the beard too. Yeah.
Oh, and Scale Train sponsors. Scale Trains is sponsoring. Okay. Oh, the free shuttle service here.
Yeah, there's 2 shuttles that we have that make the run continuously. So it takes about 25 minutes for one loop. So we have 2 of them. So the longest that you wait is between 10 and 15 minutes for shuttles that run from the Amtrak train station to a couple of the hotels to the main entrance where you could purchase a ticket. So, and that's because you cannot, you have to walk because of security reasons. If you take a bus or public transportation, they drop you outside of the gates, and then it's a half a mile walk to get to our buildings because you have to go around to certain gates to get in.
Right.
So we took care of all of that. So actually, any Uber drivers or taxis can drop you right in front. We've made special arrangements for all of that, but we also have a free shuttle that runs all day long, two free shuttles, and all they do is make runs all day, starting a half an hour before the show and a half an hour after the end of the show on both days. And it's sponsored this year by Scale Trains.
ScaleTrains.com.
Yes.
And they're at ScaleTrains.com. And I believe I think you said earlier that they have a couple of special announcements at the show this year.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, could you tell us what those are?
Yeah, I could, but they've asked me to keep it very quiet, and I will honor that arrangement.
Why are they?
Can I ask a question then, John?
Yeah.
Can you tell us on January 27th?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we'll look forward to that.
I got a better question, Tony. I bet you know what they are because you're the editor of Model Railroad News.
Yeah, you know what? He probably does.
Yes, yep. I think I do know what the Scale Trains announcements are. Yep.
Kaylee, can I ask you a question? I want an honest answer, if you could. I mean, I think we can call ourselves friends now, eh?
I think so.
Yeah. Kaylee, why does everybody else know what the secret is and they won't tell me?
Can't tell you.
All right.
I could tell you, but she'd have to kill you.
Yeah, she'd have to suck me into one of her turbines.
Yeah. Ooh.
I really don't like it when we're going down the runway just before rotate speed and the thing's wiggling. I do not like
Well, it's like, you know how every taxi driver has a bobblehead doll in front of their dashboard?
Yeah.
This is the pilot's bobblehead. It's the engine.
Okay, John. Man, there's like a million other questions we could ask you. Do you have a favorite layout? I know what's your favorite? Go ahead.
Hey, Lionel, can I ask a question first?
You can ask tons of questions.
John, you said before that all the profits of this show gets donated. Can you elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, we actually have a very formal grant program. So and I mean all of the profits after expenses go to anybody who applies through this very formal grant program. You have to be a 501c3, and most of these museums and historical societies and restoration folks are. And we actually award these grants based on can they finish the project and a lot of other things. Are they getting matching funds? In other words, are they not just relying on us? And we'll give approximately $25,000 to $35,000 away a year. One of the grants is a $10,000 grant that we'll give away, called the Founders Award, and the others are heritage grants, anywhere from as low as $500 if that's all they needed to finish a project, all the way up to $3,500 to $5,000. But we are this year surpassing, since we started this formal program in 1991, we just surpassed the $800,000 mark we've given away, and we figured about another 7, depending years, we'll hit the $1 million mark of grants.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and we don't do a great job of publicizing it. So thank you, Kaylee, for asking that question. Because a lot of people say, "What do you do with all that money?" We give it away to promote this hobby.
And I think I remember last year, Bruce. I think when we were talking to him last year, remember when he was in the office screaming at everybody, he wanted it better, and we kind of,
Well, we thought we were in trouble because he grabbed us.
That's right.
To start with.
But yes, so. It's important for everybody to realize. What does it cost to get into the show?
It's $15 to get in. If you're an adult, if you're a child, 15 years and under. So if you don't drive, you get in for free. Another way that we're trying to promote the hobby for kids.
Absolutely. No, but my point was going to be, so it's $15 to get in, but once you cover the costs of putting on the show, any other money that's left over, you donate to various. And it's last year, did you not donate it to? Tell me what was the major donation was to, because I think I remember, but I don't want to get it wrong.
Actually, it was 2 years ago it was Booth Bay Railway Village again, and this past year I can't remember, because I'm not the president this year, but I can look it up on the website.
I thought
I seem to recall you were talking about there was a group that was restoring a station somewhere. You're giving
oh gosh, yeah,
money.
we give away 15, 20 grants a year, so it's hard for me to remember all of them.
Yeah.
But I believe you gave some away to autism, didn't you not?
Oh yes, the other thing we do. Yeah, thank you for letting me off the hook there. So easy. The other thing we do is we build a raffle layout. And all of the proceeds at $1 a ticket, I mean, every dime goes to this group, Autism's Family Connect, in Connecticut, and we give them all of that money. So on top of it, we bust our buns to build a raffle layout, and then it was Branford Electric Railway that won the $10,000.
Yeah, but let's not skip over this fact that there are people volunteering to build this layout, and every dollar that you make, you donate it to autism.
Yes, exactly. So that's on top of everything else we do. So we pick a charity. For years, we did the Bay State Children's Hospital because is the NICU unit, the neo intensive care unit, and kids with cancer. So we promised them $14,000 to recoup some money for certain things, and we ended up giving them over a bunch of years $30,000. So now we're on, and that's on top of the $800,000 that we spoke of over all those years. So this is something different. But I got to tell you, off the record, kind of, we're tired of building raffle layouts. So what we want to do is something even more dramatic. So we're going to do a train trip somewhere in the United States for either 2 or 4 people, and that's what we'll raffle off, because that's a little bit more useful than a layout. And and I mean, it's wonderful when the right family wins the layout.
Yeah.
With kids and everything. But there's a lot of layouts, a lot of people that have won that they don't know what to do with the layout.
Right.
So we want to make it a little bit more useful. So. And
where would they? If there are actually people listening, where would they buy the tickets for this raffle?
They buy on site. You buy them at the train show, and over the course of a couple of days, we'll sell 5,000 tickets.
But is it one particular location, or is there people wandering around?
Yes. No.
Yes or okay. What is it? Yes or no? Come on.
Yeah. Well, yes to your first question, no to your second question. So there is one particular location, and it's in the Better Living Center, dead center in the middle of the Better Living Center at the Amherst Railway Society's information booth, which I think is don't tell me, section 33 in the Better Living Center. So we'll raffle the layout off. This is going to be our last raffle of a layout, and then we're going to go to this big extravagant trip. We're going to have a rail pass for in hotels and blah blah blah, because we got a lot of people that are interested in helping us with that. So this layout will, and the money still goes to the kids with autism. So we'll be doing that at section 33 of the Better Living Center. We give it the tickets are on sale while the show is open. We make the drawing at 3:00 on Sunday, so we have time to have people.
And do people have to be present to win? No, I assume they can.
No, they don't. They don't.
Okay.
They do not have to be present to win. We will call you. So.
And Sunday's the day you open it an hour later so that I can sleep in.
Yes, absolutely. That is correct.
Perfect. Okay, so now we need to find out about your personal model railroad, because absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, it is. We are very nice. We are lovely people, John.
I'm beginning to see that, actually.
Yeah, we are lovely people that would really like to park pretty close to the whole operation.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we're going to take care of that. You don't have to worry about that.
So, Kaylee, you've been to John's house, have you not?
Yes, I have.
Once, twice, 3 times, a half a dozen, 200 times. How often have you been there?
A few dozen times, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a few times.
Okay. So, and where roughly where do you live, John? Then, in relation to Springfield?
I live 25 miles south of the train show.
Okay.
I live in Bloomfield, Connecticut, which is right next to the town where Kaylee lives.
All right. Well, we won't hold that against. Not that where Kaylee lives, but that you live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Did you have Hartford Whalers seasons tickets?
I did not. We had Yukon women's season tickets.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you earlier on. Before we get to your layout, have you noticed an increase in the participation by women? Because I think I have.
Yes, I'm very serious. I had more. I have 3 or 4 new women vendors this year. Had a couple last year, and I think it's wonderful.
Really? So there's as well as I think I've noticed more not interest involvement in the show by women, and you see them walking around with bags of stuff and everything, and not necessarily wives, people that are shopping and all that.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, they're shopping, absolutely.
And so you've got some women vendors. Do you remember off the top of your head what they are or what they're selling?
Yeah, a couple of them were selling children's books, but only railroad books.
Right.
Another one, it was one of the first women engineers in the country, and she was selling her book of how that happened last year.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and a lot of husband and wife teams, but
Right.
the wives tend to be the ones. So, boy, if I count those, the wives
Yeah.
tend to be the bosses. There's at least a dozen of those. Couple from Kennebunkport, Maine, a couple from Boston, the greater Boston area. So there's quite a few.
Well, and I know one group there. I think it's an O-scale. They have an O-scale where they have one of their members single-handedly. She builds turbine jet engines and installs them on A320s.
That's right. I can't recall, but someone from the New Haven something or other.
Yeah.
New Haven Society of Model Engineers.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Oh, hi, Kaylee. How you doing?
How's it going? Figured I'd stop by and drop in on the studio while we're at it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's me saying exactly again. There's the two things I need to stop doing: saying exactly and laughing. It is very hard to edit a podcast when the most annoying person on it is yourself. Okay, so your own personal railroad. So how long have you been building it?
Oh gosh, 26 years, probably.
And what is it? What are you modeling?
It's HO scale. It's called the Berlin Bangor in Maine, as in Berlin, New Hampshire, from the paper mills all the way to Eastport, Maine. Spent my summers, grew up in Maine, went to the University of Maine. So everything takes place in Maine. A little bit of a double decker, a little bit of a mushroom, a lot of HON3 as well. Not so much Farmington, Maine, which was two foot narrow gauge, but stuff. When I started doing this, couldn't find decent running 2 foot narrow gauge stuff. So HON3, but all hand laid track, 137 switches, hand laid.
Wow.
Double slip, curve 3-way, 2 switches overlapping each other opposed, so it almost looks like a single slip, but it's really not. So a lot of crazy things, a lot of crossings, all kinds of fun stuff.
And all right, so and how often do you have operating sessions then?
Yeah, about once every 6 to 8 weeks. I'd like to do them more, but there's too many guys in the rotation, so fair is fair.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though, that you have that much interest.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It takes on my layout, which is considered, I think it's large, but it's compared to the guys I play with, it's only medium size. But it takes about 12 to 14 guys to run 30 trains over about a 2.5 hour period.
So what size is your layout?
It's in 2 rooms, 20 by 20. So, and they kind of barely, no, they don't really overlap. So it's in the basement, two adjoining rooms, 20 by 20. So it's about 800 square feet. It's about 170 feet of main line. Not as much as I'd like, frankly. And that's only because I'm babied when I go over some of the other guys' layouts that have twice as much main line as I do.
Is there any place on the internet that we could see photos of your layout?
Yes, actually. If you go to, let me go find it. Let me hold on one second. I got to do a search.
All right, do a search.
Because it's one of the guys.
Are you going to use the Google? What am I supposed to say, Bruce? Working the Google on the internet machine.
Yeah. If you go to MOW Crew, which is MOWCREW.weebly.com/ I know it's because it's a homemade website.
Well, could you say it faster?
Yeah, I probably could. MOW maintenance away. MOW Crew CREW.weebly.com / I think. Hold on one second. I think you could.
Can you help me here, Bruce?
Yeah, no, I want to see if you just don't have to say. Yeah, if you actually go to mowcrew.weebly.com, that will actually take you to when we have work sessions and op sessions and where they are. And if you go to one of the submenus up at the top, layouts, there's actually a couple of videos of trains running over my layouts, along with a couple of still photos. And then if you go to the Flickr page, which is attached, you can see a lot more photos of my layout.
You having any luck with that, Bruce? Because I put in MOWcrew.weebly.com,
.weebly.com, and you should find it.
Anybody? Somebody help me! Help me! Somebody help me!
Help me.
Check the chat.
Check the chat. The chat. Okay, the chat on the.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I will copy that.
This is riveting radio. Bruce, did you put it in my personal?
I put it in the chat on Aperion.
Okay, you didn't put it.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. And there's a picture of my right there.
Okay,
excellent.
So now I got to work that. All right, hang on a minute. Let's see, that's a lot of work, Bruce. If you just, wow, look at all that.
Well, it's a little bit tougher to get to because we don't, it's publicized just to the people.
Sure. You know what? My problem was I was putting in MWO, not MOW. See, that's why I can't do it. And that's why you can't talk so fast. Well, that is a beautiful layout you got there, young fella.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So is it how complete is it?
The track work is done. And I could expand if I want, but the scenery in some places it's probably 80% done scenery wise, but in some places there's no scenery.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Typical. Yeah. But in a lot of places it's got some decent detail to it.
So it looks like all the track on the whole layout is hand laid?
Yes, every bit.
Wow. And so you must enjoy track work.
I do. I love it.
And okay, and go back over. I'm looking at it now, and I see a Boston and Maine switcher in one photo.
Yeah, I've got actually some stuff with my home road, Berlin, Bangor, and Maine. The route of the Black Bear. If you've ever been to the University of Maine in Orono, they are the Black Bears, and so it's the route of the Black Bear. So it's cool. But it's a lot of Maine Central stuff, a lot of BAR stuff, a lot of Boston and Maine, interchanging with all of those along with my own.
Okay, and so you say the Black Bears, University of Maine. Is that where you went to school then?
Yeah. I was just reminiscing, which my wife just loves me to do. Because 50 years ago, this past fall, I was a freshman at the University of Maine, and I was there on a soccer scholarship. But that was so long ago.
They were playing soccer 50 years ago?
Yeah. I was recruited, so it was interesting. Yeah. I played in Connecticut, and we were state champs, and that whole BMOC garbage.
Right, and is that the home of the Fighting Black Bears, or just Black Bears?
Just the Black Bears. Yeah.
Okay, they're not angry or nothing. Not the angry Black Bears.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So you have a very New England feel here.
Yes, thank you. That's the whole idea. Exactly. Thanks.
And how do you control it? What do you use to? What is your means of electrical control?
North Coast.
Right. And are you see? Can you guys get this now? When we were talking about the show, I couldn't turn them off, and now I'm getting one-word answers here about the layout. What do you use to control it with? North Coast.
Yeah. All radio control. I just have plugins in the yards.
You know what I just thought of, everybody? Can I get a vote here before we carry on? Because this is obviously going to be a standalone episode of the Modeler's Life podcast, which John has listened to every one of them, and some of them several times. I'm thinking we need to do the Kelly questions with him.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Oh my.
Yeah, and we have several people here that can score them.
Oh, I was not briefed on this.
No, you were not.
Don't worry. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You don't need to be briefed. It's all okay. Here's a nice panoramic shot of it. There's one shot here. It looks you've done beautiful work here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm right now, guys, in the middle of a depiction of about 10 and a half feet long by about 2 feet wide, shaped like an S, for the city of Northampton, Mass. We're actually, for their historical society, doing a diorama of Main Street in 1847.
Run that one past me again. You're doing a diorama for what's called Historic Northampton, which is the Northampton, Massachusetts Historical Society and Museum, where they contacted the Amherst Railway Society to give them a diorama of Main Street the way it looked in 1845. I may have said 47, but it's 1845. And so how many guys are doing that, or just you by yourself, or?
Myself and one other guy who is really good.
Wow. Well, I'm looking at your modeling here, and it appears to be really good anyways.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Listen, I couldn't. I asked him about dust on the floor at the Amherst Railway Show, and I couldn't. I was getting 15 minutes. Here, I'm getting thanks. You've hand laid you have an 800 square foot layout, and you've hand laid 800. You've hand laid all of the track, and I'm getting thanks.
Well, yeah. I people ask me would I ever do it again, and I honestly, for the switches, I think I would, because they flow so nice. You know, you could, because I build switches backwards. I build the stock rails first, and then I finally finish with the frog, and that controls the nice looking flow of all of the track. People think I'm crazy, but you can't start with the frog, because then if you got the wrong angle, it's then your track is all of a sudden taking a right hand turn with a number 3.5 switch or something. So the way they flow is what I like doing. So,
well, how did you learn to hand lay track?
I just started trying it, and I don't use any jigs or anything. It's all just it's all done in place. So I don't build it at the bench and bring it over to the layout. Everything was built on the bench in place.
We have a fella, Kevin Marks, that's not going to be too happy about that. He prefers if you use Fast Tracks fixtures.
Oh yeah, and that's good stuff. And they used to come to the show, but it was a hassle for them to come down they're from Canada, right?
They are.
Yeah, it was difficult for them to get here, but that was back then. I talked to the guys coming in from Canada now, and they, once you get your paperwork set, they breeze right across the border now, which is good to hear. But back in those days, they just said it was a hassle. But that track work was is really good stuff. But I don't need any of it.
Right? You just so we're talking 26 years. So when did you actually start handling turnouts? Like, is this your first layout, your second layout, your third layout?
This is my second layout. I started handling track in the late 70s.
That was when it was a real art.
Yeah, well, I thought about the Katie staple gun and but none of that. So you build your own tools. You take a little pair of miniature pliers, you flatten the ends of them, you open them up, you put a little gouge, a T-shaped gouge in it that'll hold the spike, just like they do now. You could buy it now, but make your own, and that's what we had to do back then, as you guys know.
And so, what do you mean, as we guys know? How old do you think I am?
Well, as old as me.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I was 50, 52, 53 at most.
So you didn't have YouTube videos or nothing back in the 70s?
Good God, no.
Did you have paper and pencil, or were you?
I didn't even have an index card.
Yeah.
Actually, I built my first switch on top of an NMRA switch schedule. So it showed you where to lay out the ties for a number 6 switch, and I just glued that. I almost glued that to a piece of Homosote, put the ties right over it, and then built my first switch. And when I put a boxcar on it and it actually made it through the switch, I couldn't believe it.
So,
but it turns out it's really easy.
So had you been exposed to it by somebody else, some other layout or some other modeler or something?
Yeah, you guys would know this guy. The guy who first introduced me to handling a track was Brian Whiten.
Okay.
You know him? He's out of Windsor Locks. He's an MMR now. He wasn't back then, but he taught me how to handle track.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
I think we're going to stop now. We'll wind down now, because I think we need to do the Kelly questions with you.
Okay.
Yeah. That's going to be an experience. I'm probably going to need some rest afterwards. What do you think, guys? Have we asked them all the possible questions, or have I left anything out about the Springfield show? And his one-word answers about it is like, look, John, you got a 40 by 40 or a 20 by 40 foot layout. You must have, and you got all these guys. Kaylee, you've been there a couple of dozen times. What's it like to operate on it?
There's certainly no shortage of activities. So the way we typically run, there's a sign-up sheet, and this is true with any of the round robin groups. So when you sign up for a run, you're doing everything from between mainline trains, or you could take local switch jobs, or it could be, if you're really ambitious, be the yard master for one of the 2 yards that run the layout. Haven't quite made it that far yet, but I've done both the mainline trains and some branch line trains, and it is a lot of fun switching out those cars, or even just taking a leisurely stroll up and around the layout.
And it runs well, obviously. You enjoy yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
How about snacks? What's he like for snacks?
So usually in the crew lounge, quote unquote crew lounge, there's usually a spread of all sorts of cookies and pastries.
Oh, wow. Cookies and pastries.
And then, of course, the obligatory Ruffles.
Yeah, potato chips.
Potato chips.
How does his snacks compare to Chris Adams' snacks?
Oh, I know Chris.
Chris Adams, well, he has pizza, so that's usually
Really?
So, John, that's your cue to step up the game there, pal.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a little behind here.
Well,
Pizza.
yeah, but no pineapple on the pizza.
Well, oh yeah, no Hawaiian pizza.
None
yeah.
of that. No,
Yeah,
there is no place on pizza for pineapple. It doesn't. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why it's happening. It's like, why not just put raisins on it then?
That's a new one.
Well, anything other than meat, cheese, bacon, like, what else do you need? You don't need
I like how bacon is a separate topping out of meat.
Well, bacon is bacon is a
That's
category.
because it is. Yes, it's in a category all by itself.
Yeah, when things are going wrong and things aren't going your way and it's a tough day, just eat some bacon.
That's because bacon is your friend.
Bacon is your friend.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
All right. So, okay. Who wants to give out the email address here? Oh,
Wait. I don't.
Okay.
What did we get all the Amherst contact information? What's the Amherst show address and all
there
that?
you go. See,
State that again.
Well, there's actually 2 websites for us. There's amherstrail.org, which is all about the Amherst Railway Society. But if you want to talk and learn specifically about the show and everything about the show, that's railroadhobbyshow.com.
And they have a good page there. That's where I've been. And so, what is the Amherst Society? It's just is it a club? There's a club that has a layout, or it's just a group, a gathering, or what?
It's a group of men and women who love railroads, love to educate people about railroads. Once a month, we have a meeting at our clubhouse. On Saturdays, we're open. We're just now starting to build our club layout, give clinics for kids, all that kind of stuff. So our big Christmas party is this Saturday from 1 to 4, refreshments, trains running, tours, open house movies, the Polar Express, all kinds of stuff. And it's all free and open to the public.
And did you not tell me last year when we were talking that the Amherst has their own building now?
Yes, that's exactly what we talked about, and yeah, that's in Palmer. Remember the town of 7 railroads? It's a 1130 South Main Street, right down the street from an old restored Palmer Railroad station. That's could be on the National Historic Registry, and it's turned into a wonderful restaurant now.
Yes,
so
people are always raving about this restaurant in Palmer.
Yeah, the Steaming Tender. Yeah, I've been there. I've been going there for years, and they have wonderful food there. And it is within walking distance of our clubhouse, so it's really close.
So
we actually moved our meeting nights from Tuesday night to Wednesday night because the Steaming Tender was closed on Tuesday nights.
Perfect.
Yes, you got to get a bite to eat before you come to the clubhouse.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
and watch a few trains go by too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how busy is the railroad now in Palmer?
Just there's the CV is still there. Central New England is there. Amtrak, CSX still runs through. There's 4 or 5 trains a day.
All right.
Yeah, so it's still fairly active.
And how recently did the society obtain their own building?
About 2 years ago, about 2 years and 3 months ago, one of the things I wanted to do when I was the president was secure a building so we didn't have to pay rent at a junior high school that we've been going to for 20 years. And we had to close every time they were on vacation and couldn't have meetings in the summer. And so we just needed a place to call home so we could build a club layout. We acquired a 7.25-inch outdoor layout in 3,000 feet of track. So that's underway all around our property. That's 2 acres of property. So we're going to have an outdoor layout as well and the club layout indoors. So we've got great plans for the future.
Yeah, you kind of remind me of Chris Adams. You're a going concern. You're one of those guys that makes things happen.
You know what? If you don't, it doesn't get done.
Right.
So you just gotta do it.
Yeah, so you're just a really energetic guy that gets things done. Like Chris Adams is a really fit guy, and he's always riding his bicycle.
Yeah,
It just irritates the crap out of me.
Yeah, me too. I'm not. I do all of that except the exercise.
So in some ways, he's like the East Coast version of the dude.
Yeah, there
you go. Yeah, the dude. All right. Who wants to give out the email address, Kaylee?
All right. If you'd like to get a hold of us through this newfangled technology called email, our email address is modelerslife@gmail.com. That's modelerslife with 1 L like Kaylee, not 2 L's as in life limited parts.
Because some parts you put in the turbine engine, you have to take them out after a while. Otherwise, they will stop working.
They will go kabloomy.
Life limited parts. What's a life limited part? Give me a quick example.
Turbine blades.
Yeah, we don't want those coming off.
Nope.
So how heavy is this jet engine when you're lifting it into place on a plane?
I want to say it's over 200. No, it's not 200 tons. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 tons.
Wow. So, and you do that all by yourself. You must have a jack or a lift or something that you do. That's impressive. Okay. And we have a website. It's a modelerslife.com. Okay, John. It's a modelerslife.com. You go there. There's our links to our Facebook page and all kinds of stuff. And you can find all kinds of neat stuff and pictures of upcoming episodes and pictures of past episodes. So, John, I'm going to give you the opportunity. We're going to make this an episode on its own, and we're going to call it the Amherst, the big Amherst show. We'll call it anything you want to call it. But you can decide. It will either be broadcast on January the 7th or January the 21st of 2019. Which would you prefer as the director, the president, the guy in charge, the one they go to, the voice you can hear all over the place?
The 7th.
All right, done. So
pretty quick with that one, wasn't it?
He was, yeah. That was a short answer too.
Yeah.
The 7th. Famous Toronto Maple Leafs with the number 7.
Yes.
John.
The what?
Oh,
so close.
so close. So close.
All
No,
right.
you said it so fast I couldn't get it.
Exactly.
Good save. Good save.
That's exactly what it sounded like. Oh, you just go to MOW crew. That's what I'm hearing. We got one last job for you, John.
Yes.
You got at the appropriate moment. You have to say "Happy Rails" to you.
Okay.
Well, John, as we close the barn doors on another episode of, I can't remember what it is. I'm gonna have to go.
A Modeler's Life.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get the script. I'm gonna have to go get the script because I need that anyways for the Kelly questions. Everybody talk amongst yourself, and then we will finish.
He'll insert some elevator music in here.
No, yeah, there you go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, this is the official break, and whatever you or talk amongst yourselves, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm gonna go have an official break.
Yes.
Really? That's too funny. So what's the website again? It's a Modeler's Life?
No, amodelerslife.com.
Oh, amodelerslife.com. Okay. Hey. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Nice. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at, geez, there's a whole bunch of people in front of City Classics booth at the show.
Yep, that's the annual photo AML photo op.
Wow.
So, yeah, Tony, you didn't probably get much to get a chance really to get in a question. Was there anything that you wanted to specifically cover?
No. I was kind of along for the ride tonight. Well, White River will be there. We have been, I don't know how many years in a row now.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, Tony, yeah, forever. Yeah.
Yeah. I've only been once. I was there in 2016. And yeah, the show's just unbelievable.
Thanks.
Unbelievable.
You know, it's funny. There's still a lot of guys. Jason Schron called me and said, "Hey, I'm coming to the show this year." And I said, "For the first time ever?"
Thank goodness. Yeah,
he's coming. He's going to be there. I said, "Well, it's about time."
Exactly. I say that to him because he'll say, I don't feel like I have enough recognition in the U.S. I said, well, you don't go to a lot of the shows.
Yeah.
I said, that's really a big deal.
Yeah. All he'd have to do is make the rounds once. It'd be cool.
And they are doing more of that. I mean, he had someone at the St. Louis RPM this past summer, and that surprised me. So he is doing better. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And, as Kaylee, as you said, how you basically after 2 hours had to walk out of the show. That was same with me. It's like it is overload because I'm a big collector more than an operator. My whole thing is hobby history and collecting old models and just unprepared for, it's most shows you go to. It's like, okay, I'm going to make the rounds first time, see if there's anything just really tremendous or a great deal. I'll look at something and say, yeah, I think I might come back for that. Or I might, see if somebody else has one in better shape. And Amherst is like, oh yeah, no. Buy as you go. You're not going to make. Yeah, you won't make multiple rounds because there's just so much stuff. Yeah, it's incredible. And there's no way to explain it. When you try to tell people, so what's it like compared to? It's like, well, you can't compare it to another show.
It's like the Daytona 500 of shows.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good one.
By the way, I never left. I could hear everything you said.
You were just checking to see if we talked about you. Now, are you A, disappointed that we didn't talk about you, or B, relieved that we, which is it that you're happy we didn't talk about you, or you wish we would have, so you could have heard some gossip?
Yeah, I'm on the one hand, I'm torn that you didn't. I wasn't immediately mentioned, and the conversation wasn't all about me, but B, I probably prefer that it wasn't.
Oh, well, there you go.
My narcissistic tendencies wished you had, but my neurotic tendencies is glad that you didn't. All right, John, are you still there, or did you leave?
I am still here. Yes.
All right. So at the appropriate moment, I had another good question I was going to ask you too. Oh well, couldn't have been that good. I thought of it while I was going to get the notes, but it couldn't have been that good. What a great show. All right. Can't remember. All right. At the appropriate moment, say happy. This will sound a lot better. Trust me, John. This will sound a lot better than it does right now.
Okay. Do I have to say it, or should I sing it?
Yeah, you never sing it.
Okay, good.
Happy rails to you. Well, happy John. Yeah, happy rails to you.
Okay.
All right. Well, John, as we close the barn doors on another episode of A Modeler's Life, and the sun slowly sets over the back 40, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
happy rails to you.
It's another Lincoln Homer.